Hello, welcome back. My name is Laya and I'm from the Success team, and today we'll be discussing QuickBooks Online and how to get inFlow integrated with QuickBooks Online. To start off with, there's a couple of things that I'd like to go over. To begin with, just keep in mind that this guide would only apply if you had QuickBooks or you were a QuickBook user in the US, Canada, the UK, and Australia. Before you start, we have a couple of things that I'd like to go over. So think of it as your before setup checklist, so to speak. If you go to our knowledge base or learning center, you'll also see that we have this list, but this is a slightly more condensed version. What we'd like to make sure is your product quantities and your costs are up to date in inFlow, that your home currency in inFlow is the same as it is in QuickBooks. So if you're using inFlow in USD, QuickBooks should also be in USD, and then make sure that your taxing schemes are set up and aligned in both systems. So if you have, if I was in Canada and I had Ontario tax, I'd like to make sure that QuickBooks also had the same thing that inFlow had. Similarly, also double check and make sure that your QuickBook products are all set to non-inventory type products, just so inFlow doesn't double the value. If you have inventory type products in QuickBooks Online, you'll need to first deactivate them and then recreate them as non-inventory items in QuickBooks. You can do this using our knowledge base because we do have that before setup checklist that I mentioned earlier, or you could just use QuickBooks Online's Help Center to ensure that you do this correctly. In this integration, keep in mind, inFlow is going to be your source of all inventory truth. If you take nothing else from this video, I hope that one statement sticks to you, because inFlow needs to be the source of all your inventory truth. QuickBooks is where all the accounting takes place. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's actually go to the connection. In order to do that, I'm going to go right here to my integrations page. Click on that, which will then take you to QuickBooks Online, which is right here. Now, when you're ready, just click Connect to QuickBooks. This will then take you to QuickBooks and have you sign. Now that I'm signed in though already with QuickBooks, it's going to take me directly to the actual setup. Let's go through this step by step. To start off with, this is your sales order push settings. This just allows inFlow to send your sales orders to QuickBooks as invoices. So what you'll have to do to begin with is enable this if you plan on having sales orders that you'd like to send to QuickBooks. So I'm going to let this be enable push. And now the first thing that I need to choose here is a product income account. Now a product income account is typically where you would be tracking your revenue from product sales. So in this case, what I'm actually going to do is quickly choose an income account. I have a lot of them over here, so I'm just going to go with something super simple. I'm going to go with my test account. And now over here, you can choose if you want to have the customer name included in the invoice push, or if you'd like to not have that. More information is better in my opinion, so I'm going to go ahead and keep that on. And while we're here, if you click on any of these things, they'll basically just give you a quick idea of what you need to be adding in here. So this is a quick tip just to make sure you know exactly what you're choosing in this point. Now that we're here, we're going to go into payment settings next. Now, payment settings have three options, as you can see. You can push and pull settings. This just means that you can make a payment in inFlow, and as long as you have this specific option turned on, you can then have that payment reflected in QuickBooks. Similarly, you could take a payment in QuickBooks and have that updated in your inFlow sales order as well, or purchase order, depending on what it is we're looking at. So in this specific case, I'm going to go ahead and choose to push and pull payments, but you also have the option of just pushing payments from inFlow to QuickBooks, or only pulling payments from QuickBooks to inFlow. While I'm here, I'm also going to go ahead and allow refunds to basically be pushed. Your payment account is your business checking account in QuickBooks, or it's essentially where you'd like to receive your payments. So I'm going to go ahead here again and just choose my bank as my payment account. Now that I'm here, I'm almost towards the bottom of this page. This is where all of your taxing schemes that you've set up in inFlow will show up. In my case, I don't have any taxing schemes, so I'm just going to continue with the no tax scheme. But keep in mind that my no tax scheme still has a 0% tax. So I just need to make sure that I have 0% over here to ensure that we don't run into any errors while setting up. One quick double check to make sure that all the information is here, and I'm going to click next. Now we're at the purchase order and inventory value push. So I'm going to enable push here, but similarly, if you plan on not using QuickBooks or the inFlow QuickBooks integration for purchase orders, then you can go ahead and basically toggle this off. However, I am going to in this case, so I'd like to have this information here. Now, what's essentially going to happen is inFlow will now send your purchase orders as bills to QuickBooks. And once that happens, it'll update your inventory assets and COGS accounts. So what you need to do now is essentially map all of these accounts. So your cost of goods account is essentially any cost of goods account that you have. So I'm just going to go ahead with the cost of goods sold account. So your inventory asset account is where you'll basically have all of your products or the value of all of your inventory held. So I'm just going to put it in any form of like asset account for the time being. I do have a few to choose from here. Keep in mind, we are using an inFlow test account in this case, so I have a lot of options to choose from. Chances are when you're using your business QuickBooks, you'll only have a couple of options here to choose from to begin with, so it should be a little bit less confusing than what my screen looks like right now. Now, finally, the adjustment account. Just to make sure, we always suggest having an adjustment account so that inFlow sends its daily adjustments along with your inventory value. You can have inFlow create this for you, or you can just use any cost of goods sold type account. So I'm just gonna go in and do my test. Nope, sorry. Just gonna go in and use this specific type of account. Actually, I could probably also just use inFlow adjustments, which is the account that if you did have this type of account, you would have an option here that allows you to create this account. Hi again, this is future Laya. Just wanted to quickly mention that the adjustments account is used to balance out the inventory asset account, and it tracks the cost of inFlow's non-stocked product cost value, essentially. But also, if there's a debit in the inventory asset account, you'll usually find a credit in the adjustments account. While we're here, it's really important to mention that while the adjustment account is a cost of goods sold type account, it's best practice not to use the same account as your cost of goods sold account to avoid any accounting headaches in the future. While I'm here, just wanted to quickly mention that if you're using QBO US, you will also see a taxes on purchase account. Now, this could be an expense or liability type account, but the mapping is only for those who are using QBO US, since QBO US does not support tracking taxes on purchases in POs or bills. Similarly, like we did for the sales orders, we have the same options of payment settings for your purchase orders. So you could choose to either push and pull, just push, or just pull. Completely up to you. For the sake of this video, I'm going to go ahead and once again push and pull payments. And same thing with refunds. By default, refunds are sent. Now, if you don't want them to be sent, this is when you toggle it off. So in this case now, payments check account, I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same account as I did in the sales order tab. And then payments account for a credit card, I'm just going to go ahead and use my credit card test. Once again, exactly the same as the sales order. For my purchase orders, I don't have tax. However, I still have a no tax at 0%. So I'm just going to make sure to add that 0% right here. So I can either choose 0 rated or no tax. What matters here is that the 0% is the same. Now that I'm almost done or completely done with filling in all of this, I'm going to go ahead and complete. At this point, if something wasn't right or if I forgot to fill something in, it'll basically tell me that I need to fill something up here. But in this case, we're now fully done and we're completely set up with our integration. To test this out, I'm now going to create a sales order just to see what it's going to look like. So I'm going to go ahead straight up and create a new sales order to my client, Lucas Scott. I'm going to create a wooden door, which I don't have stock of. Just give me one moment while I fix this. So I just double checked. I do definitely have stock, just in the wrong location. So I'm just going to quickly go update this location. I'm going to sell this door for $150. I have no tax for the time being. However, I am going to turn on shipping and charge $35 for the shipping. Now at this point, I'm going to invoice this before I fulfill it, just so you can see it going into QuickBooks. So in order to do that, I just need to quickly go to QuickBooks. So now I'm on QuickBooks. And once this loads, let's go into sales and invoices. While I'm looking at invoices, as you can see, my order has already been pushed to QuickBooks. I haven't paid for it yet, or I haven't received payment for it yet, and it hasn't been fulfilled yet. But for the time being, if I decide to go into this, I can actually see this invoice for the time being. And it's that simple. At any point, if I decide to take payment here, it'll actually go ahead and get updated on the other end. But maybe we can go into that in more detail in another video. I hope this made the QuickBooks and inFlow integration seem a little bit simpler. And if you have any questions, you can always contact us. Thank you for watching.